Hello y'all! Today I shall take you on a fluff BL webtoon ride. And for the people in the back that like me got a knack for the kinky stuff, don't worry, I got you covered. Lightsaber Kun shall bless us with its not so holy presence. Oops! Now let's get started. Shall we? The webtoon opens with a steamy scene where a tall, dark-haired dude wearing glasses fondles with our protagonist's magic rod, while the latter pleads for him to stop. But of course, the tall dude doesn't stop. Instead, he speaks almost seductively into our protagonist's ear, calling him by his name, Kang Suhwa. Hearing his name spoken by the tall guy seems to do the trick of successfully expelling white bodily fluids out of the magic rod. While this activity was taking place, Suhwa's thoughts concluded that since this was not a dream, he must be insane. This whole scene actually happens in the future. The author allowed us a sneak peek to catch our interest, the famous dangling carrot, you know. Does this mean this webtoon it's catered for folks like me with a taste for the nasty? Yeah, most likely. Anyway, let's get back to the present. We are shown our protagonist in his room while broke and with a cold, deciding it's about time to look for a part-time job. But since his laptop broke a few days back, he went out to latch onto someone else's Wi-Fi. During his active pursuit of no password Wi-Fi, we are given a status overview. Kang Suhwa, age 26, unemployed and penniless. Why do I feel attacked? Anyway, a short while after, he finally finds free Wi-Fi, but it comes with cold shower. Apparently, right place, wrong time. Someone was testing the new garden hose. When our protagonist is spotted, as if it weren't enough to be drenched in cold water, he also slips, falls, and bangs his noggin. Not a good day so far. The scene changes to Suhwa waking up in an unknown bed and environment, scared by the imposing bell-like appearance of the guy that got him drenched. The same tall guy with glasses and dark curly hair that was doing spicy handiwork at the introduction of the webtoon. Our scrawny protagonist freaks out because of fear, while the tall guy checks his temperature. Another dude enters the room and gives a little explanatory context to the situation. But when it comes to why didn't they take Suhwa to a hospital, the new guy just said that burying a corpse was less of a hassle, passing it as a joke afterwards. So basically, they took Suhwa in on the third floor of their workplace, Cafè, where Johan, the tall guy with glasses, is the owner. Our scrawny Suhwa pleads and begs for a part-time job, but it's rejected by the new guy, who has antique-like pink-colored hair, green eyes, an athletic figure, and a very pretty face. However, Suhwa's begging makes Johan sniffle and take pity on him, and since he is the one calling the shots, instructs Pink Hair to accept him as a part-timer. All this without Johan speaking a single word. Even though Johan chose to hire Suhwa, Pink Hair's thoughts are full of worry for a reason that we are not yet given. Some days later, while Suhwa is heading to his new job's place, he reflects on the events that took place after his water drench incident. The pink hair guy introduced himself as Oh Yoon, and by his work tasks description, it becomes obvious he doesn't do much at the cafe, mostly just sits there and acts pretty. Go Johan, the owner and manager of the place, does pretty much every task in the cafe to keep it in business. Praisable are especially his cooking skills, but his coffee is closer to a witch's concoction than to a delectable beverage. Worth mentioning that the proper introductions point out the Korean word pun of the author related to Suhwa's name, since it also means sign language, literally. His new job comes with an unusual requirement. So Gyun instructs Suhwa to learn the basic signs from a book he lends to our protagonist. The book is Sign Language for Beginners. Our protagonist reaches the cafe, and since nobody is there to greet him, he snoops around a bit and discovers the garden in the backyard. He attempts to make his presence noticed to an oblivious Johann, busy with his hose again. Yeah, I know, I could have worded better, but since no kinky stuff is actually happening, oh well. Back to the story. Since Johann was non-responsive to Suhwa's calling, he proceeds by tapping his shoulders. Startled, Johann waves a right hook that our protagonist barely dodges. Mortified by his action, Johann tries to explain himself using sign language, but to Suhwa's eyes, it just looks like he's flailing his arms around. An awkward moment of silence follows. That just makes Suhwa even more confused, at which Johann whispers one single word, "Sorry," and goes away. Johann's deep voice leaves our protagonist flustered and blushing. A while after, we are shown that Gyun finally came to work too, late as he usually does, and Suhwa inquires if Johann is the silent type, considering the events that occurred just earlier. Another awkward silence is soon followed by the clarification. Johann is deaf. Yep, apparently Gyun forgot to inform our Suhwa about this little detail. In Suhwa's mind, a replay of the garden mishap makes our protagonist conclude that he was extremely rude in that circumstance. Truth be told, the replay from Suhwa's POV is a bit distorted when it comes to facial expressions, from how they actually were in reality. Suhwa does manage to properly apologize to Johann, even attempting some sign language while doing it. However, Johann wasn't angry, so all is good. What still remains a mystery to our protagonist is why Johann uses sign language if he can speak. Gyun reassures Suhwa that since Johann was comfortable enough to use his voice towards our guy, it means he took a liking to him as an employee. He rarely speaks usually, since not being able to hear his own voice is weird to him. As Gyun proceeds with his explanation, we are shown some panels from a flashback related to the accident that made Johann deaf. While mumbling his regret of not burying someone back then, Gyun manages to intimidate Suhwa with his gangster demeanor. His first day of work at the cafe passes by, and as he is about to go home, he runs into Johann and attempts to do some end of workday greeting signs. No success there, so Johann opts for a scribble on a sticky note. And of course, Johann's handwriting is undecipherable, so our fella delights us with some funny expressions while he tries hard to read the note. All this to Johann's dismay and embarrassment, so he leans in and speaks into Suhwa's ears with his deep voice. "You can just talk to me. I can read your lips." Those are the exact words Johann utters. But the reaction Suhwa has is running away. Suhwa reaches his home in a rush, flustered and embarrassed by the effect Johann's voice had on him. In short, he got a boner. The next day, we see Gyun trying to teach Suhwa some signs. Upon the latter's request, the process is not only lacking success, but also makes a lot of fuss in the cafe, distracting the customers with their antics. Johann steps in, inviting them to have their private conversations in the staff-only room, instead of the main space where the customers can witness all their shenanigans. Turns out that there was another reason for Johann's intervention. He felt left out from the conversation the two younger dudes were engaging in. Gyun expresses interest in knowing why Suhwa didn't ask Johann for help with learning signs. After a little funny banter, Gyun jokingly asks Suhwa if Johann's voice makes him grow his third leg step. Suhwa's awkwardness speaks volumes that he hit the nail on the head with that joke. So he pins our protagonist on the table and forces him to listen to a recording of Johann's voice. And of course, Suhwa's body betrays him, the morning staff awakening involuntarily. The conversation between the guys goes on for a while, with the main conclusion being that even though Suhwa is a pervert, well, slightly, he is also considerate and thoughtful in his intention to learn sign language, to not have a one-sided conversation when communicating with Johan. Before leaving the staff-only room, Gyun teases our protagonist a little more with Johan's voice recording, and then, nonchalantly, offers to take care of the stiffened rod with his mouth, even bragging of his skills in that particular field, if you catch my drift. Outraged, Suhwa refuses the unusual offer, being left alone in the room with tears at his eyes, and the magic rod that can't be tamed. He also needs to find someone else to teach him signs, since Gyun refused to do that anymore. And of course, Johan was waiting outside the room, crouched and sad of being left out of the conversation again. The next chapter takes us to a few days in, since Suhwa started working at Café Goyo. He gives the audience a recap of the things he learned so far. First, their coffee looks, smells, and tastes like sewage water from hell. Second, everything else on the menu is great, but everyone orders things off the menu. In fact, the customers know the works of the custom menu better than Suhwa himself. Apparently, to Johan, keeping the place as a cafe seems more cool, even though it's basically a restaurant at this point. Third, the cafe is closed every Monday. This is the part Suhwa likes the most out of this job. And fourth, the place is busiest during mealtimes, like a restaurant would, instead of the other way around as a normal cafe would. As the recap comes to an end, Gyun asks Suhwa to take an afternoon snack to Johan in the garden. He does as asked, and in the garden, Johan was working on plants maintenance. The manager proceeds by using his phone to write instead of his own handwriting, even though he is really slow at typing. Kinda like the boomers are. Basically, he asks Suhwa to come to the cafe on Monday, even though it's closed, so he can teach him some sign language, since Gyun told him that he was interested in learning it. Suhwa does politely try to wiggle his way out of the invitation, and he succeeds, but has a change of heart when he notices how saddened Johan was by his refusal. Defeated by his own conscience, Suhwa accepts to come on Monday, which brings good mood to Johan. Soon after, Suhwa is frustrated by the whole development and asks Gyun for help. More specifically, he asks for a recording of Johan's voice, and that evening, while at home, he receives it on his phone. The next chapter takes us to the nitty-gritty of things. Our protagonist is busy with polishing his own lightsaber, while the recording of Johan's voice, calling him by his name, plays on repeat. After a few images that I cannot display on YouTube due to their explicit depiction of the self-pleasuring activity, a white gooey fluid splatters on the sheets. But our protagonist's magic rod still got some fighting spirit left in it, so he goes for one more round of polishing. Of course he does, why wouldn't he? The next day, our Suhwa, adorned by heavy under-eye dark circles, is walking towards the cafe. Apparently his sword self-training activity from last night became more of a marathon, and he still didn't get used to Johan's voice in the process. Out of frustration, he intentionally bangs his head against a random wall in the attempt of chasing away the thought that he is a pervert. A thought that took permanent residency in his head by now. Wobbling after the head hit, he gives himself an inner pep talk to be unshakable and unaffected by your deep seductive voice starting today. Reaching Café Goyo, Johan invites Suhwa to the third floor, which is his home. While Suhwa ponders that maybe the host is pissed at him, assuming that Gyun snitched about the perverted tendencies of our guy, Johan makes a surprise attack by using his voice for chit-chat. It is a friendly act on his part, but since we know about Suhwa's Achilles heel, we can all predict how he reacts. In his attempt to get a grip on himself, he displays a funny blushed expression while trembling. Johan is a minimalist. The only piece of furniture at his place is a small table, smack dead in the middle of a spacious room. He keeps using his voice for the greetings into his home, but our shaky protagonist covers his mouth, requesting for him to use sign language for a better learning experience. While our Suhwa tries to keep his composure and subside his lower half from the tingling excitement, he is served a Korean-style omelette by Johan, a pretty good cook. In appreciation of the tasty meal, Suhwa expresses his gratitude using sign language. That brings a smile onto Johan's face and he responds using his voice. And of course, this gets Suhwa to the breaking point, in which he can't keep his instincts at bay anymore. His scrawny figure, all shaking like a leaf on a windy day, prompts Johan to worry for him, therefore also speak more. Bad combo, bub, bad combo. Mortified, Suhwa utters a non-plausible excuse in an attempt to leave Johan's place. But clearly, Johan couldn't read his lips due to Suhwa's crouching and appearing to be sick. So, Johan cups his cheeks and speaks again. And things keep going downhill from there. Johan decides to take Suhwa to a hospital. Amongst the hustle of stopping the hospital idea, Johan ends up falling on Suhwa. Suhwa turns tomato red in the embarrassment, pleading the gods for help, but it's kinda too late. The host noticed the hardened third leg that shouldn't have been rock solid. A flashback plays in Johan's memory, where he kept trying to avoid another guy, and the confrontational altercation derived from that. His thoughts at the time were filled with scare and fear. That is why he was ignoring the dude in the flashback. In the present, Johan places his shy hand on Suhwa's crotch area. He proceeds with the zipper, despite Suhwa's desperate pleas to stop. Anyhow, as soon as the wild snake gets freed from the undergarments prison, he goes, "Oh well, it's too late now." Oh god. Johan wields Suhwa's sword like nobody's business, polishing it properly right where it needs it the most. Amongst huffs and moans, Suhwa tries to formulate a proper apology. Okay, he got a thing for apologies. But Johan cuts him short, stating it's all okay. However, in his mind he doesn't trust our protagonist's words. He keeps giving shine to that magic rod until bodily fluids splurt right on his own glasses. Of course they do. Of course. Our embarrassed scrawny guy just had one more mishap on the long apology list. Told you he got a knack for it. The next day, at the café, Suhwa fries eggs while remembering the events of the previous day. Right after the splatter of Lois juices on Johan's glasses, he gave more apologies and went home. But not before Johan offered his assistance in taming the wild snake down below whenever Suhwa feels tired again in the future. Obviously, our protagonist's thoughts refuse to ever go to such a situation again. The typical Suhwa and Gyun banter ensues again, resulting in the former swinging a spatula at Gyun, trying to hit him because, of course, he hit the nail on the head again, related to Suhwa's enjoyment of the voice recording from 2 days earlier. Suhwa ends up burning the eggs. While preparing another batch of eggs, the guys keep conversing, with Gyun proposing the outrageous idea of just telling Johan the truth about his deep voice effect on Suhwa. Our guy response is yelling towards Gyun, prohibiting him from ever mentioning anything about it to Johan. As on cue, Johan appears right at that time to witness the second batch of eggs burnt to a crisp. He orders Suhwa to do them again and leaves just as he came. In frustration, after noticing Johan's calm demeanor, while he is a hot mess, Suhwa intentionally bangs his head against the counter. He then decides to go clean the restroom instead, to calm himself from all the inner turmoil. Shortly after, we see Johan looking under the cafe's tables in search of Suhwa. I mean, I get the guy is shorter, but come on. After Gyun points him to the restroom, he stumbles on the stairs in a rush to get there. Someone's hurrying. Okay. In the restroom, Suhwa went all out with the cleaning, attempting to scrub away his troubles in the process. But it only makes him remember yesterday's endeavor more vividly. Aware that he looks like a mess, he resorts to freshening up to get his shaisa together. And that is when Johan enters the restroom. He offers to ease his troubles by lending a listening, eye. However, he uses signs that are very advanced, and Suhwa understood nothing out of Johan's attempt at comforting. The misunderstanding leads to an awkward moment of silence, followed by Suhwa's intention to get back to work. Johan uses his voice to stop him. Suhwa starts trembling, and the whole debacle results in Suhwa admitting out loud to Johan that his voice gets him tingly down below. In an instant, Suhwa ends up butt naked, seated on the hand wash counter, whilst Johan fondles and admires a very stiff and pulsating species of wild anaconda, standing tall in between Suhwa's legs. To prevent his glasses getting splattered like last time, Johan places them on our protagonist's face, proceeding by using 2 hands, not 1. Okay, guess buddy got a package there. Anyway, proceeding by using 2 hands to tame the beast, the protein juice is squeezed out in no time. In Johan's thoughts, his actions provide him with relief, as if making up for his past wrongdoings. After the activity is concluded, Johan notices a wound on Suhwa's forehead, the one he inflicted himself previously after burning the eggs. He gives a random excuse to which Johan incites him to treat it. All this while using his voice, right close to his ears. He accompanies his not-so-secret weapon with some tender caressing, which apart from the stiff lightsaber reaction on Suhwa, also leads him to confront Johan if he does this intentionally to stir him up. Johan admits, this time he spoke on purpose. A second round of manual sword swinging begins for Johan and Suhwa. And right as all that swinging is about to hit its mark, Gyun's voice ruins the moment. As he is about to enter the restroom, our protagonist pulls Johan in one of the bathroom stalls. He then whispers to Johan what is happening. Even so, Johan goes right back to his snake taming hobby. Meanwhile, Gyun, still in the restroom, notices Suhwa's pants on the hand wash counter and can't help himself from creating weird images of Suhwa in his mind, posing as a pervert just in his underwear. Those are some funny images. One looks like a pervert in the back dark alley flashing his willy or something, but yeah, whatever. Never mind. Clearly, some disturbing imagination work on Yuno's part. Gotta give it to the author. The poses, the expressions, conversations all throughout this manhwa are extremely entertaining to me. Resigned, Yun leaves the restroom, and our kinky guys manage to make the beast subside by squeezing the potent juice out of it. And the milky gooey fluid ended up on Johan's glasses again, even if it was Suhwa that was wearing them. So some recoil effects. Okay, moving on. Shortly after, back in the main area of the cafe, they are both faced by Gyun's inquiries related to their prolonged absence. Only vague answers were provided by the culprit. Gyun mentions the pants that were abandoned for a while on the hand wash counter, and also about Johan not wearing his glasses. Still haunted by the pantless version of Suhwa produced from his imagination, he retracts his question about pants, aware that sometimes ignorance is bliss. As for the classes, he receives an excuse as an explanation. The workday ends in the evening, and Suhua calmly walks home, relieved that despite Johan knowing about his reaction down below to his voice, he's okay with it. He concludes that it is mutually beneficial for both parties involved if they can relieve each other like this. Until it dawns on him. So far, only Suhua got benefits out of this arrangement. Was perhaps also Johan interested and stiffed down below this time? We shall discover in the next part how the story proceeds developing, but for now, this is where this segment of the BL webtoon ends. If you enjoyed my recap and my attempt at describing censored scenes with coded commentary, please consider subscribing, like, share, and comment. You know the drill. It helps a lot, and it would be very appreciated. In the meanwhile, I wish you all a great day. See you on the next one. Thanks for watching.